Youth has no age. Getting older, looking younger. Sounds like the dream come true, the fountain of youth, right? Striving after something that you can't really grasp, right? Well, I don't know about that. So there's a fair amount of genetics that have to play into this, but I don't think it always has to be that way. If you take good care of yourself, then your body will take care of you. And you can look young if you stay healthy. So I had one of my groomsmen saw a picture of my wife and I on her Instagram, and he was like, "What the heck? You guys look younger than when you got married." And I think that's true. I think that's definitely true. In a lot of ways, we take care of ourselves better than before we were together. Mainly, she has been the whole reason that I've gotten healthier, because every single time I've turned a corner, anything new has always been because I wanted her to be more healthy. So I was always the guinea pig, like I mentioned in a lot of my other videos, to help her become more healthy, because to some extent, while we both have our own issues, to some extent, I've been always trying to find ways to help her be healthier. And that led me to some of the modalities like coffee enemas. Yes, I originally started that just for her. And I found that was extremely beneficial for getting a ton of stuff out of me that I didn't even know was stuck in me. I found out I had parasites. I got rid of tons of those. So here's the deal. I had a job where I was a texturing technologist, and that means I applied textures to all your plastic dye injection molding items like automotive, because I lived in Michigan was one of the main things that we did, but we did some cell phones. If you notice, your cell phones will all have textures, exception being the glass ones nowadays that everything's covered in glass. But even your cell phone cases will have textures around the edges or in various different places. So yeah, that was a very unhealthy working environment. Even though they paid me well, I ended up doing a lot of sandblasting, and they didn't give me good equipment to protect my lungs. So I actually passed a ton of what I thought was sediment from the sandblasting that was just trapped in my digestive tract, like in my lower colon area, and I never actually cleared that stuff until I actually did like a 3 to 4 quart colon cleanse. Yeah, and that's a shocker. You don't just do that day one. You got to slowly work up to it. But that has significantly improved my digestive health. There's no way it couldn't have, because I think I was just putting on weight due to that fact. And when I looked around that that work environment, didn't seem like there was hardly anybody that didn't have a huge gut that I was working with that had been there any period of time. I think there was one guy in particular. His name was Lal, and he was a friend of mine. I liked him. He was from Bangladesh, and he was a great guy, and he was really excited when we talked about hunting together, and just a great guy. I rarely met Indian people that I could not get along with for some reason. But anyways, so as far as health things, niacin, I've been using niacin for a number of years, and that's got to be the easiest, simplest, best thing for clearing out toxins from your body, improving your health. I've been doing that the longest of anything. Well, I say that as far as detox goes, because, well, I mean, magnesium is probably one of the only things that I've been taking longer. And magnesium is still a detoxer as well, because a lot of people don't get enough magnesium in their diet naturally. I don't care who you are. I don't know. I mean, unless maybe you're juicing or you eat lots of... Yeah, I mean, you would have to just eat lots of greens, leafy greens, and a whole lot of juicing, in my opinion, to get proper amounts from naturally occurring magnesium. And the thing is, our food has even less today than it did before. So if you follow my experience videos, you'll see all these different types of colon cleanses and all these different modalities that I've used to help with my health, and I would really suggest you guys look into that. Applying coconut oil all over my body is another thing that actually detoxes you and can help with skin health, can help with blood flow. So I've definitely done that. Cold showers is a big one that I've done for over a year now, the Wim Hof method. I don't always consistently do like the breathing part of the Wim Hof method. I just do consistent cold exposure more than anything. And for me, they call it like a James Bond shower, where you'll start out with a hot shower and then you just gradually turn it down cold. And that's typically what I do lately. There's been times before where I just jump in a bathtub full of cold water, I'd throw ice in it, etc. But in Colorado, I can just go outside most of the time now, just wear a sweater maybe, and my work sweater, actually, the zipper busted, so just walk around outside when it's like 14 degrees out and get carts and can't zip it up. Fun times at the health food store, right? Anyways, some of the other things for skin health, I've never really been a fan of using soap on my face. There's very few facial soaps that I've ever been a fan of, because your face can have such a delicate balance. And I learned about that a long time ago, great number of years. And I always had, even in college, friends that would come up to me, people would say, hey, what do you do for your skin health? Like, your skin looks really good. And I always kept it a secret back in those days. But the bottom line is, I did nothing. I allowed the natural oils of my face to regulate and self-regulate because it's the best. I mean, occasionally, shea butter soaps may be a good go-to. I usually end up suggesting that people would enjoy African black soaps. I usually suggest a Lafia black soap because that is something you can shave with. You can use it as a face soap. You can use it for cleaning the bathtub, cleaning the toilet, cleaning anything. It's relatively inexpensive for the high quality of soap that you get, in my opinion. In college, I was a big fan of exercising. I had a roommate who was an exercise science major, and we worked out six days a week. And I was often the largest guy in the gym at the time we were there. So in those days, I was a fan of exercise. I did enjoy it. But now I've actually been on keto for over a year and a half more. May will be 2 years actually for me as of the making of this video. And basically I kind of just do one meal a day. Maybe I'll have a snack, or maybe I'll do a burger in the evening, but typically I have 16 to 18 hours where I just don't eat in a 24-hour period, and that can help with autophagy, which is your body's natural process of self-cleaning, and it means to eat oneself. And so your body can clean up the cells and heal your body on its own by not eating. Also, I've put on muscle mass. I have noticed my physique has rapidly changed as I've taken other supplements such as maca from Whole World Botanicals, because it's so good for vitality, energy, libido, hormone balancing. Whether you're young, whether you're old, whether you're male, whether you're female, there's so many health benefits, and you want to make sure you get the Whole World Botanicals one, because a lot of people, when they start out, are only going to need 1/8 of a teaspoon or smaller, because it's such powerful stuff. And that has been one of my favorite supplements, which has really helped with overall my physical health, in my opinion, because it's so good at hormone balancing, because it's so good at, for men, getting rid of excess estrogen, for women, getting rid of excess estrogen, because it's the precursor for all your hormone needs. So the other thing was definitely increasing minerals made a big difference in my life. Taking selenium on a regular basis, getting my body's natural production of glutathione, and that one of the major ways to get glutathione production increased in your body is to do coffee enemas, because it'll stimulate your liver to produce 600 to 700% more than normal levels of glutathione. And if you don't know, glutathione's your body's own natural antioxidant, your master antioxidant, which you have many antioxidants naturally, like cortisol. Even though it's known as the stress hormone, that can actually help be an antioxidant at certain times. You just don't want excessive amounts of that. Whereas glutathione in excessive amounts is actually pretty freaking awesome. So, minerals, trace minerals, hugely important. Has really helped with clarity of thought and mind and focus. I've used other nootropics, and I'm not really a big fan of nootropics simply because that ends up getting people addicted to those, and I'd rather support my body's systems instead of having things that are not like completely native, not having things completely outside the box. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not against some of these things out there that are not naturally occurring, like I've talked about in my serapeptase video, which is one of my more popular videos I've made. Vitamin C. I remember getting into Dr. Andrew Saul's website, where it seems like he's a one-trick pony, and he talks about megadose vitamin C for everything. And Linus Pauling, one of the only people in the world to ever win 2 Nobel Prizes. He passed away in the 90s now, actually. But he talked about if we were to get naturally occurring vitamin C's from our food, that we would need to consume about 400, 500 oranges every single day, which is physically not possible, right? And he passed away in the 90s. So if he was saying that stuff 30 years ago, 20 years ago, then there's no way our oranges today have more nutrition. There's just no way. And I've always been a little bit speculative of when they tell me how much nutrition is inside an apple or an avocado or an orange, because the bottom line is they didn't test the one that I ate. So maybe it's just a law of averages that they come up with these figures. But did they even test the ones that come from where I eat them from? Because I'm sure the soil that's grown some of the food that comes here from California is totally different than some of the food that comes here from Colorado. It's totally different from some of the food that comes from Florida. You know what I mean? Anyways, so other health modalities that I have really focused on. I mean, there was a while I tried to be a vegan, I tried to be a vegetarian, and I just felt miserable. I was not happy. It didn't work for me. Getting into the ketogenic lifestyle has really gave a lot of vibrance to how I feel, to how I look, to how sustainable my life is, because I can go so long burning fat as fuel, be healthy, be happy. And man, Dr. Berg's video just popped up again that was over a year old, where it talks about is long-term keto bad? And it's like, he laughs because he's like, glucose is bad, high insulin levels are bad, almost every single problem we have is related to too many sugars. And people think ketones will lead to a bad, unhealthy lifestyle? How is that even possible? So, sleep has been very important too. When I try and focus on sleep health, we got earthing sheets, earthing pads, earthing bands, and you got to check those things on a regular just to make sure they're still working, because from my experience, it's not necessarily the pads or the cords or those other things that stop working. I mean, it is the cords. It's not the pads or the sheets or the bands. It's the cords. Because they end up being just as thick as microphone, headphone, friggin' cord cables and stuff. So, those are some of the things that I've really focused on in getting healthier. I guess I touched on exercise a little bit ago. I'm not a big fan of exercise anymore because you end up sweating out and losing your minerals, and a lot of people aren't replacing those, and they're doing it in a healthy way. And high schoolers are having heart attacks now because they're not as healthy as to begin with. They're not replacing their minerals. They don't know about vitamin intake. They don't know, because they don't teach you that stuff in school. And if they do, it's very, very minimal. I mean, some of the information they teach you in college even is questionable. And some of my friends and coworkers that I work with, they talk about some of their health classes, their nutrition classes that they've taken in college, and it's just full of bad data from such long ago reports, like the 7-country study, which is a cherry pick study that talks about it's from a guy, his name was he wasn't even a doctor. Keys. Something Keys. Anyways, so yeah, he cherry-picked data from 22 countries, turned it into the 7-country study, and talked about how fat is bad, but it's completely the opposite is the case. Carbs, there's 0 essential carbs. Candida grows, lives, thrives on sugars and carbs. Not a fan of those. Not a fan of dried fruits. Not really a fan of most fruits nowadays either. I barely ever have berries. Barely ever crave berries. That's keto. Berries are keto. And I was in line at the grocery store the other day, man, and this woman was talking about how dry her hands were, how dry everything is because she lives out here. And I looked at the belt, and she's got nothing but sugary foods, whether they're fresh fruits or carrots, or it's just everything she bought was sugar. She's just feeding candida, and that's why she's got dry skin. Eczema could be related to parasites, as a matter of fact, and high sugar, high carb content in your foods. Cut those things out, replace them with fats. You'll start to keep and lock in moisture. She was like, other people that I've always talked to, they're like, man, I don't care if I got to wear chapstick all year round. It's way more healthy to live here than it is back in the Midwest, etc., in Iowa, in Des Moines, where we grew up, etc. And I don't have to wear chapstick. I rarely ever wear chapstick. If I use anything on my skin, it's going to be argan oil, and that is very nourishing, and I've found that it actually is very beneficial, helps things get moisturized, it retains the moisture. I'm going to have to do one of the 100-layer challenges with argan oil and see how that goes, because it's so nourishing to your skin, and maybe I'll make a time lapse of that or something. I wonder how much, because argan, typically you don't need a lot for that stuff, because it's like one tiny little drop or splash or whatever you want to call it from one squirt of most of the different types of containers will, for me, cover my hands and forearms, and the more I use it, the less I need it. But still, I never have chapped lips. It's just the sugars and the carbs, guys. Don't eat them. Anyways, I kind of just rambled on through this video talking about some of the health things. If you wanted to know more, definitely check out my experience videos. Those contain a lot of the things that I've done for my health. And if you have keys that you found for your youth, your health, definitely leave a comment. I would be pleased to learn about it, to know about it, to look into it more, because we're a community here, and I actually do end up learning a lot from people I talk to and people who tell me about their experiences, aside from where I do research, aside from documentaries I watch and XYZ books I read, etc., blogs I read. So anyways, guys, like I said, stay healthy. Thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe.